The Mask of the Red Death. The Red Death had devastated the country for a long time. There had never been such a deadly plague or such a horrible one. Blood was its identifying mark, the redness and the horror of blood. First, the victim felt sharp pains and experienced dizziness. Then, blood began to pour out of his skin. The red stains on the body and especially on the face of the victim were the signs that he had the Red Death. Of course, no one wanted to know him then. No one would go near him. The whole process, from the catching of the plague to death, only took half an hour. But Prince Prospero was happy and fearless. After half of his people had died, he called together 1,000 healthy, carefree friends from his court and took them far away to one of his distant castles. The castle was a magnificent building. The prince, with his unusual but excellent taste, had planned it himself. There was a strong, high wall around it. In the wall were gates of iron. Once everyone was inside, the courtiers sealed the huge gates shut so that no one could enter and no one could leave. There was plenty of food in the castle, and the prince provided all kinds of entertainment: clowns, musicians, ballet dancers, and plenty of wine. The prince and his friends planned to escape the terrible plague outside the castle walls. The world could look after itself. They would not worry or think about it. Everyone inside the castle was safe. Outside, there was the Red Death. 5 or 6 months later, while the plague continued to kill thousands of people in the outside world, Prince Prospero invited his friends to a masked ball, or mask. The ball was held in a suite of 7 rooms. In many palaces, suites are built in a straight line. But here it was very different, for the prince, you will remember, had very strange taste. There was a sharp turn every 20 or 30 feet, so that you could only see one room at a time. In the middle of each wall, to the right and left, was a tall, narrow window. These windows looked out onto a corridor which ran alongside the rooms. The windows were made of stained glass, and the color of the glass varied according to the decor of the room. In the room at the east end, for example, everything was blue, and the windows were bright blue. In the second room, everything was purple, as were the windows. The third room was green, the fourth orange, the fifth white, and the sixth violet. In the seventh room, everything was covered in black velvet. Only in this room were the windows a different color from the decor. They were scarlet, the color of blood. On the night of the mask, no candles were placed in any of the 7 rooms. However, in the corridor opposite each stained glass window, there stood a 3-legged table with a holder for fire. The firelight shone through the colored glass and produced a strange and wonderful effect. In the black room, however, the effect of the firelight streaming through the blood-colored glass onto the velvet was truly horrible. The light gave such a wild look to the faces of those who entered this room that very few of the guests were brave enough to set foot here at all. In this black room stood a huge black clock. Its pendulum swung with a heavy, monotonous sound. Clang, clang, clang. Every hour, when the clock struck, it gave a loud, clear, musical sound. It was such a strange sound that the musicians of the orchestra had to stop playing to listen. The dancers stopped dancing, and the whole party became afraid. The people forgot their happiness. With each chime, the prince's guests felt time moving closer and closer toward them. But as soon as the chimes stopped, the laughter started again. The musicians smiled and promised that they would not stop playing the next time the clock chimed. But 60 minutes later, when the clock made the same sound, all the people reacted the same way. Nevertheless, the ball was magnificent. The prince had a good eye for color and effect. Not only had he planned the decor of the 7 rooms for the ball, but he had also decided what everyone should wear. And stranger, more bizarre costumes were never seen. They were grotesque. It was a collection of dreams that moved around the rooms. These dreams danced about, changing color according to the color of the room, making the wild music of the orchestra seem like the echo of their steps. And then the black clock in the velvet room struck the hour, and for a moment everything was still. Everything was silent except the sound of the clock. Clang, clang, clang.